From the Library of Congress in Washington, D.C.
Hi, everyone. My name is Betsy Peterson. I'm the director of the American Folklife Center here at the Library of Congress. And on behalf of the whole staff, I want to welcome you here today for a wonderful concert, the latest in our homegrown concert series here in the beautiful and historic Coolidge Auditorium. The Homegrown Concert Series is designed to feature the very best of traditional music and dance from around the country. And to make these concerts happen, we work with cultural specialists and cultural organizations from throughout the country to identify the very best artists. Today's concert, of course, is no different and is being produced in collaboration with the Kennedy Center Millennium Stage and with ACE, the Association for Cultural Equity, based in New York City. And ACE was founded by Alan Lomax to explore and preserve the world's expressive traditions with humanistic commitment and scientific engagement. Today's concert will pay special homage to Alan Lomax's fieldwork in Galicia, Spain in the 1950s. And as many, or I think some of you know, the American Folklife Center is now the permanent home of all of the original fieldwork done by Alan Lomax, while ACE maintains a digital storehouse of his work. The performance today is going to be recorded for the collections of the American Folklife Center, and it will be put up as a webcast on our website so that we can share it with people throughout the world, and so that future generations can hear and learn from this. So with that said, let me ask you to please turn off your cell phone or any electronic devices if you have not done so, or you will make it into our archive. I also want to say that today's concert will be a little bit over 1 hour in length. Most of our concerts are roughly an hour. So if you do need to leave before it ends, we certainly understand, but I just want to give you a reminder to be mindful that these seats can sometimes be a little noisy when you get up out of them. So as you get up, just use your hands to make sure that the seat comes up quietly. So today we have a very special performance, a very special concert featuring Carlos Nunez and his band playing the Spanish Celtic music from Galicia, Spain. And to tell you a little bit more about Carlos and members of the band, as well as Alan Lomax's fieldwork, I want to introduce Judith Cohen, an ethnomusicologist based at York University in Toronto. Judith is the general editor of the Spain series of the Alan Lomax Project, which is carried out with ACE and with Rounder Records. Besides editing and writing the extensive liner notes, Judith has also located and interviewed almost all of the men and women still living in Spain, which Alan Lomax recorded, or who Alan Lomax recorded in 1952. And she is also working on an edition of the Lomax Spanish Field Diaries. So please welcome Judith Cohen.
Thank you so much. I'm really delighted to introduce Carlos Nunez here. I've known him, in fact, in Spain for many years, though this is the first time we've seen each other outside Spain. And I've been traveling around Galicia and learning about its music since Carlos himself was just a small boy. So it's very common to associate the music of Spain with flamenco. As many of you know, and as you just heard on the consultant for Lomax's Spain recordings, and when he began his 6 months of fieldwork in Spain in June of 1952, Alan Lomax realized immediately that flamenco was only one of the many spectacular music traditions of the country. In the northwest of Spain, Lomax spent several days in the misty green hills of Galicia, traveling over narrow, steep, muddy roads in the cold, rainy month of November, recording singers and instrumentalists, consulting with Galician colleagues, and writing detailed, perceptive, and very lyrical diary notes. These include a gem of a description of the legendary bagpiper Modesto Sanchez in the small town of Ribadavia, And in fact, it was a friend of mine in Ribadavia who asked me about this recording, and this became the first step in the long and endlessly fascinating road of my work with the Lomax collection. Years before that, in 1973, traveling as a young hitchhiking hippie, I'd already heard my first Galician bagpipes and recorded my first Galician singers, and I was hooked. So the Galician bagpipe, in many ways, is behind my own work with the Lomax collection, and for this reason, it's an even greater pleasure and privilege to introduce Carlos Nunez and his band. Carlos is the reason many people now realize that the music of Spain is much more than flamenco. When he was barely a teenager, he was invited to play in the Festival of Lorient in France, and he met the legendary Chieftains, who were to become his lifelong friends and colleagues. Trained in Baroque music, flute, and recorder at Madrid's Royal Conservatory, and later on learning the Breton chant and bagpipes, Carlos has always combined a deep knowledge of Galician traditional music with elements of early music on the one hand, as you'll hear in his renditions of the famous 13th century cantigas by Alfonso X and by Martin Kodax, and on the other hand, with other Celtic and world music traditions, aspects of jazz and even aspects of rock. He spent long hours reviving the historical bagpipes of Galicia, and he sought out the music of the Galician diaspora in Latin America, integrating traditions from Cuba to Brazil in his music and working with stellar artists. His was the first Celtic traditional album to go platinum in Spain, and he sold over 1 million albums. He regularly collaborates with internationally renowned musicians, too numerous to list here. Indeed, one might say that Carlos has brought the music of Galicia to much of the world, and the music of much of the world to Galicia. So while the bagpipe is the emblematic instrument of Galicia, where it's been known since the Middle Ages, it's far from the only tradition in this land of seas, mists, and forests, green mountains, and the magical meigas. The sanfonia, or hurdy-gurdy, which you'll also hear today, has as long a history in Galicia as does the bagpipe. The pandereta, or tambourine, is played in virtuoso style by both men and women, and there are hundreds of fine groups of pandereteiras, women who sing and accompany themselves on tambourine and other percussion instruments. And the songs of Galicia include old narrative ballads or romances, improvised song duels, songs of knife sharpeners, songs of pig castrators, fishermen, local saints, legends, the wistful, nostalgic ay la la, the wicked barbed satire, often of priests, a satirical tradition which goes back to Galician medieval poetry. Galician, or Gallego in its own tongue, is a very old Romance language, and sophisticated poetry flourished in both Galicia and Catalonia well before literature in Castilian, the basis of modern Spanish. Galician literature and songs thrive today, having bounced back from decades of repression under the Franco regime. And Galicia's traditions are not limited to the concert stage. Carlos himself has been known to play his pipes alone under the moon, among the old Celtic stone castros in the hilltop of his hometown, Vigo. And if you treat yourself to fine wine and fresh fried fish in a Galician bar, you will likely soon hear strong voices, often singing in closely harmonized thirds, some of the same tunes that Alan Lomax recorded 62 years ago, and some of the same tunes you are about to hear in masterful renditions by Carlos Nunez and his ensemble. So without taking any more time away from them, I am honored to present this maestro of Galicia, Carlos Nunez, and his band. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Gracias. Good morning. Good morning. Oh, please welcome from Galicia, my friends, Don Pancho Alvarez on the guitars, and my brother, Xurxo Nunez. Well, we are very honored to be part of this tribute to the legendary Alan Lomax. People still remember Lomax in Galicia. We met some 90 years old lady. Maybe she was in love with Lomax at that time. But people still remember that American guy that came to Galicia to record traditional music. So very pleased to be part of this. So no one better than Lomax to explain how his experience it was. Please welcome our friend Steve
Winnick.
Yes.
Galicia, the northwestern corner of Spain, is a land of rain and tangled green hills. Like Scotland, its long Atlantic coastline is cut by deep sea fjords, and like their Celtic cousins of the north, the Galician farmers and fisher folk are dour and great lovers of poetry and the bagpipe. Their melodious language and their innumerable choral songs link them more closely with northern Portugal than with Spain, yet it was in Galicia that Spanish songs were set down in the cantigas of Alfonso the Wise, whose 12th century lyrics bear a striking similarity with the folk songs of modern Galicia. The shrine of St. James, Santiago de Compostela, was the most important goal of Christian pilgrimages, saving only Jerusalem itself. So Galicia was in close contact with the culture of Europe during the Middle Ages until today, in spite of its retirement and poverty. Galicia is still the most cosmopolitan and liveliest province of Spain.
Steve Winnick from the Library of Congress. There is a beautiful tune from Santiago Cathedral's Codex Calixtinus that it's said to be the first example of three-voice polyphony in Europe. Of course, the French, they say that it comes from Notre Dame de Paris. But, of course, it proves the strong connection in the way to Santiago. So this is called Con Gaudent. Thank you so much. The instrument that Don Pancho played is not a normal Spanish guitar. It's a typical troubadour instrument that you can see sculpted in cathedrals, but it survived in traditional music, not in Galicia, but in the very close culturally northern Portugal, and especially in Brazil, where they still play troubadours music with it, no? Sort of modern troubadours, and especially in the inlands of Brazil. Now, after this viola, kind of troubadour viola from Don Pancho, we will play another medieval instrument. It's the hurdy-gurdy that you can still see in the Cathedral of Santiago. So please welcome my brother Xurxo Núñez and from the Celtic Canada, Stephanie Catman. We borrow this particular instrument from a very good friend here from the region of, from Maryland, from our friend Bennett Solbert. So thank you, Bennett, for your lovely hurdy-gurdy. We will start with a short intro cantiga from a Vigo troubadour, our hometown, from Martin Kodak's 13th century love songs, Martin Kodak's Cantigas de Amigo. And then some music from Alfonso el Sabio, Alfonso X el Sabio, the Cantigas of Alfonso the Wise King that Lomax, he mentioned. He was in love with this kind of cantiga. So let's go with Cantigas de Martin Kodak's. sometimes very old music and sounds very modern, such as this knife grinder's tune, Canto de Afilador. I remember to listening to it with Brian Eno, the famous producer, Brian Eno from U2, from Coldplay, and he was in holidays in Galicia last summer, and it's like a Debussy melody, not minor, not major, it's something in between, what they used to call the natural scale, scala natural. The way Lomax, he recorded this tune, it was unbelievable, an amazing version from a traditional afilador. If we hear that, we have to go out because he was so good. So I'm not going to show you this recording, but just I will play it for you. Canto de Afilador.
In Galicia, there's music that sounds even older than medieval, and as Lomax wrote, Galician folk song style takes us back to a pagan Spain before the Roman Church and the Kingdom of Castile dominated the peninsula. And those old mysterious sounds can be found in this song. Lomax's writings about Galicia are full of connections between Galicia, Ireland, and Scotland, starting with the landscape. Our first trip, he wrote, was down the road towards Vigo. The countryside had that same fey look I had seen only in southern Ireland, although there was really no resemblance in the shape of the hills or the vegetation. But somehow, here too, one could see strange creatures living in the bright green hedgerows or among the ruffs of evergreen that topped the low green hills, where spumes of mist lay in the valleys and turned the brown plowed fields purple, and so bedewed the gaze that the whole countryside appeared to lie slightly below the surface of some clear green lake. The fields here were split into hundreds of tiny patches, again reminiscent of Ireland. And he continues to talk about connections between Galician music with Irish and Scottish music. He said, "It is always the same with the Celts, whether in Galicia or Galway. There is the hostility, the complexity, the thousand reservations, the distrust of strangers, the duplicity even. And then the music begins. They are suddenly lifted up and they sail away, airborne, the strange Celts whose tunes are so close to birdsong. But before, they are sitting eagles, awkward, solemn, mistrustful, to be in flight, transformed, beautiful, and without problems." And of course, he also talks about the bagpipes. The Celts, particularly, have become fanatic in their special devotion to the bagpipe. If you are in private and well-oiled conversation with a true Celt, he is bound to assure you that the bagpipe is the most perfect of all musical instruments, and if he is a true enthusiast, he will certainly go on to tell you that no one knows how to play the instrument but himself.
It's true that Galician pipes, it has a very old tradition. They say something like 1,000 years of tradition of pipes in Galicia. And the Scottish scholars, they say that Scotland, Ireland received the pipes maybe from Galicia. There was this kind of Atlantic corridor, so the old Scottish pipes, the old Irish pipes were nearly the same instrument as the Galician gaita. That old instruments had different scales than today, maybe something more similar to the actual Scottish pipes. Galicia and Ireland, we lost that note, that modal subtonic, and today it's impossible to find traditional players in Galicia with that sort of Scottish mode. Lomax did it. He has one of these amazing recordings with the modal, the old modal scale. So how to play that? Well, maybe not with a gaita anymore. Maybe next year we will make a new gaita in the old way. But with this special instrument, this is a pastoral pipes. It was made in London in the 1700s, and it's very interesting because it's sort of mother of the Irish pipes. Scottish scale, then someone did like that and became Irish. Irish, Scottish, Scotland, Ireland. So we will play for you some muiñeiras that Alan Lomax recorded, and then some other ones that are still very traditional today in Galicia. Ladies and gentlemen, for the first time ever, the Galician muñeiras, Galician jigs, with a Canadian dancer. Yes! This instrument that Xurxo played, the scallops, seafood percussion instrument, Lomax, he did a very funny
Yes,
description.
Lomax said, a pair of these scallop shells rubbed rhythmically back to back makes a fine substitute for an African rattle, and you can hear it all through Galicia.
Yes. Well, Lomax, with his great sense of humor, had so many very amazing descriptions of Galician way of life, what we call the retranca, you know, sort of very, very Celtic, if you want, way of expression. I have here my English teacher, my first English teacher when I was a schoolboy in Vigo. He was my English teacher, and then he came to Washington, and he's actually a great poet and artist. Por favor, on stage, my professor Alberto Avendaño.
Moitas gracias. Moitas gracias. Unha cousa que quede clara, eu non toco a gaita, okay? Or, as Carlos Nunez will say, yoo-hoo! That's the problem, that we need to hear those things. Teñan vostedes un bo día galego aquí na Biblioteca do Congreso de Estados Unidos. What I just said is in Galician language, don't be afraid. When Julius Caesar and the other Romans arrived in the northwest of the Iberian Peninsula, they thought they had reached Finisterra, the end of the world. Only us, the Gallegos, knew that it was not the end, it was the center of the world. This is the Galicia Lomax saw. Defeated souls never conquered. In John Ford's The Quiet Man, John Wayne arrives in a small Irish village and asks for so-and-so house. At the train station, a Celtic guy tells him, "Pay attention to me. Do you see that house over there close to that tree?" "Yes," says the Duke. And the Celtic guy says, "Okay, forget about that. You want to go over there." That is the Galicia Lomax saw. Defeated souls never conquered. What John Millington Synge talked about in The Playboy of the Western World is the same. Defeated souls never conquered. Always craving for a playful freedom, longing for the ocean. That is the Galicia Lomax saw. And Lomax described this spirit in his diary, which you have here at the Library of Congress, as he describes the process to buy a cow in Galicia. Extremely important. The handwritten page starts with a headline that says, Galicia. And then it goes. If you want to buy a cow, you never mention price. You talk of the weather, the house, the family, the cosechas, which is harvest, the things that you both know. And after half an hour, you say nonchalantly, I would add, pretending the most absolute indifference, do you want to sell that cow? And Lomax continues in his writing. He never states the right price at once. He quotes double, and you bargain until it's down to half. And then, if at the end you still disagree by, say, 100 pesetas, you will say, all right, and settle for half the difference. That is, ladies and gentlemen, one of the things Mr. Lomax learned in the land of defeated souls never conquered. Thank you very much. Gracias, Carlos Nunez.
Alberto, thank you. So another person that understands so well the Galician mentality is Judith Cohen. Please welcome on stage our very, very good friend, Judith Cohen. Thank you, Judith.
Thank you, Carlos. So this is a song that Lomax also recorded, actually just in fragmentary form in Galicia. And many of you know it in one of its English versions from either the States or Canada or England. It's often known as Four Nights Drunk or Our Good Man. And its formal title in Spain is The Adulteress. And it's actually sub-cataloged normally in Spain as Adulteress with Cat. So this is the one where, he comes home and he says, whose horse is this in the stall? And she says, it's just my father's horse, and he sent it as a present. And whose head is this on my pillow? Oh, it's just a milkmaid. Really? And I've never seen a milkmaid with a long beard, and so on. And in the cat version, she said, oh, who's this in my bed? It's just the cat that's come to chase the neighbor's mice. So this version from Galicia is actually used as a plowing song. So it's sung in a very, very slow, steady, but not very rhythmically measured way, because you're walking behind the plow and you're not in any special hurry in these songs to sing the song quickly or even finish the song, because you have a lot of work to do. And the longer you keep the song drawn out, the easier it is to get the work done. Na feira do amoreiro, ai, Rosinha, feira que não acostumbrada, ai, ai, e no meio do caminho, ai, Rosinha, olvidou-se maguilhar. volvim a casa por ele, ai Rosinha, encontra a porta fechada, ai, ai, e abre-me a porta malvada, ai Rosinha, e abre-me a porta malvada, ai, ai, que essa aquela nossa cama, ai Rosinha, por baixo da nossa cama, ai, ai, o gato do Senhor cura, ai Rosinha, que vem pronta a nossa gata, ai, ai.
Thank you, Judith. Well, I'm going to thank Steve for his wonderful reading and ask him to read the last bits of text and to join us for this song and tell us about it. This is a fisherman's song that theoretically comes from Galicia. So we have another friend from the Library of Congress, our friend Jennifer Cutting. Jennifer, please. Come. Hello.
So this is what Lomax had to say about the coastline. He said, "In the afternoon, we drove towards the sea, looking for a place to record the fishermen's songs for which the Galician coast is famous. This part of the world is incredibly beautiful, even on a gray, wintry day. The beaches are golden, the hills back of them are serene and rich with color, and everywhere, the fine houses of gray granite." And I'm going to sing a song for you now that Carlos asked me to research about 2 years ago when he was here doing research, because strangely enough, he had heard this song in the film Captains Courageous, where it's sung by Spencer Tracy, who's playing a Portuguese fisherman. And Carlos was sure that he'd actually heard this melody in Galicia as a Galician tune, and indeed that is the case. He's found the melody and can play it. But he was interested in the song because the lyrics are in English. And so I started to do the research, and that's what we do here at the Library of Congress. We research things, and songs is our specialty in the American Folklife Center. So I started to do the research, and I found that this song has been collected from oral tradition only in Australia, with English lyrics, English language lyrics, but the fishermen who first sang it for collectors were clear on the point that the tune had come to Australia with Spanish and Portuguese fishermen.
Ooh.
So I'm joined on this song by my own band leader, Jennifer Cutting, on the accordion. And the song is called Yeo-Ho, Little Fish.
And it has a chorus.
It does have a chorus. So you'll pick it up. It's very easy. There's a song in my heart for the one I love best, and her picture is tattooed all over my chest. Yea-ho, little fish, don't cry, don't cry. Yea-ho, little fishy, don't cry, don't cry. The ship's underway and the weather is fine, and the crew is on deck playing out the line. Yea-ho, little fish, don't cry, don't cry. Yea-ho, little fishy, don't cry, don't cry. Little fish, when he's caught, he fights like a bull whale, and he thrashes the water with his long, narrow tail. Yea-ho, little fish, don't cry, don't cry. Yea-ho, little fishy, don't cry, don't cry. When the crew is asleep and the ocean's at rest, I'll be singing this song for the one I love best. Yea, ho, little fish, don't cry, don't cry. Yea, ho, little fishy, don't cry, don't cry. Yea, ho, little fish, don't cry, don't cry. Yea, ho, little fishy, don't cry, don't cry. A little fish.
Jennifer, Steve, thank you so much. Gracias. That was a traditional tune collected by Lomax, a slight different version from the pipes, from the Galician pipes. But we would like to thank everyone at the Library of Congress. They are just unbelievable. They are not the typical people that research and they are just close like that. No. They are also artists, all of them. We will like to call on stage Theodosia Austin, the maestra. Theodosia, por favor.
Hello. Thank you so much for coming today. There's a number of people we'd like to thank for this concert. First and foremost, of course, it's Carlos Nunez and his fabulous band. And of course, Dr. Judith Cohen and Ace for coming down. She just got back from Morocco a day and a half ago and came immediately to Washington to come and present. Steve and Jennifer, of course, who many of you know as colleagues, but also are performing here today. Edward Casey, and Chris Kozlowski from ESP Sound, who do this concert and all of our concerts in Coolidge. They do a fabulous job. Solomon Haile Selassie, who runs lights and works for the music division, along with Michelle Glimpf for the music division. They give us an enormous amount of support. We also want to thank our colleagues in ITS for taping this concert and for webcasting, because this is going to become a part of our permanent collections. We also like to thank the staff of the AFC Archive, who have done a lot of research for this concert. And please join us tomorrow for the Quavy Sisters. It's a concert of 5 beautiful, talented women playing Texas-style fiddling and swing. But before we say goodbye to Carlos, we have another wonderful number. So thank you again for coming, and Carlos, take it away.
Gracias. Steve, Judith, Jennifer, all together. Another song collected by Lomax is well known in Galicia as La Virgen de Guadalupe, La Riancheira. So just follow us like the waves of the sea.
A Virgem de Guadalupe que nació moreninha, a Virgem de Guadalupe que nació moreninha, foi rayo de sol que entró por la ventanilla, foi rayo de sol que entró por la ventanilla. Oh niñas ven, oh niñas ven, oh niñas ven, no te vayas fianchera, que te vas a marear. Oh niñas ven, oh niñas ven, oh niñas ven, no te vayas fianchera, que te vas a marear.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Judith Cohen, Jennifer Cutting, Steve, Alberto.
This has been a presentation of the Library of Congress. Visit us at loc.gov.